It's a quiet room at Los Alamos, no alarms, no warning, just a metal sphere resting under bright lab lights. A scientist holds two nuclear halves apart with nothing more than a screwdriver, performing a test he's done before. Everything looks routine. Everything feels safe. But in the space between those halves, an invisible reaction is already waiting. One slip is all it needs. This is the story of the Demon Core, and the simple tool that turned a routine experiment into a lethal chain reaction. It is Tuesday, May 21st, 1946, a beautiful afternoon in New Mexico. Louis Slotin isn't wearing a hazmat suit. He isn't behind a blast shield. He's wearing blue jeans and cowboy boots. And he is performing a stunt so dangerous, the other scientists call it tickling the dragon's tail. He is lowering a shell of beryllium over the core of a nuclear bomb. If the shell closes completely, the core goes critical. Protocol says he should use safety shims, wooden blocks to keep the shell open. But Slotin refuses. He trusts his hand. He trusts the screwdriver. He twists the blade. The gap narrows. The Geiger counter in the corner begins to click faster. He has done this a dozen times before. He is the expert. He is safe. And then his hand twitches. A flash of blue light floods the room. It's brighter than the sun. There is no explosion. The building does not fall. To an outsider, it looks like nothing happened, but Slotin tastes something sour in his mouth, like sucking on a penny. He looks at his friends. He knows the physics. He knows the math. And he knows he is already a ghost. To understand why Louis Slotin is standing in a room full of radiation, you have to understand the object on the table. The scientists call it Rufus. It is a 14-pound sphere of plutonium and gallium. It is the heart of a nuclear weapon. It is worth millions of dollars, and it is the deadliest object on the planet. But by May 1946, the scientists stop calling it Rufus. They give it a new name, a name earned in blood. They call it the Demon Core. 9 months earlier, August 1945. Another brilliant physicist, Harry Daghlian, is working with this exact same core. He is building a wall of tungsten bricks around it, testing its limits. His hand slips, a brick falls. Same blue flash, same sour taste. Harry pulls the brick off, but it is too late. He dies 25 days later. His body literally disintegrates. The core has claimed its first victim. You would think this would terrify Louis Slotin. It doesn't. Slotin is the cowboy of the atomic age. He is a Jewish-Canadian genius who assembled the bomb for the Trinity test. He is fearless. To him, the Demon Core isn't a monster. It's a puzzle. Here's the mechanics of the danger. It is surprisingly simple. The plutonium core is constantly firing off neutrons. If these neutrons escape into the air, the core stays cool. It sleeps. But Slotin is testing reflectors. These beryllium shells act like mirrors. They bounce the escaping neutrons back into the core. The more neutrons you trap inside, the hotter the reaction gets. If you close the shell completely, the neutrons have nowhere to go. A chain reaction begins instantly. A nuclear explosion in the palm of your hand. Slotin's job is to bring the shell as close as possible without touching. He is surfing the edge of a volcano. The war is over. These men are preparing for Operation Crossroads, the nuclear tests at Bikini Atoll. This is supposed to be a routine calibration, but there is a problem. The safety protocols require plastic shims to prevent the shell from closing. Slotin hates them. They are too slow, too clumsy. He prefers the screwdriver. Months ago, Enrico Fermi warned Slotin. He told him, "You will be dead within a year if you keep doing that." Slotin didn't listen. And now, the year is up. Back in the lab, the atmosphere is dangerously casual. It is the end of the workday. Some of the men are already thinking about dinner. There are 8 people in the room. Louis Slotin is at the center. Behind him is Alvin Graves, another physicist. Graves is standing just feet away, leaning over Slotin's shoulder to get a better look. He is acting as a human shield for the rest of the room, though he doesn't know it yet. In the corner, Raymer Schreiber is turning away to check a different experiment. This simple motion, turning his back, will save his eyes from being burned blind in exactly 5 minutes, and by the door, a 23-year-old security guard, Patrick Cleary. He doesn't know nuclear physics. He's just here to watch the door. He has no idea he is standing in a microwave. 3:18 p.m. Slotin prepares for the final test of the day. Protocol demands he place these wooden shims between the hemispheres. If his hand slips, the wood catches the metal. The wood saves the world. He pushes them away. He doesn't need them. He has the screwdriver. This is the domino effect in action. A disaster is rarely one big mistake. It is a chain of small, quiet errors. Slotin lowers the shell. The hemispheres are now almost touching. The gap is tiny. The core is waking up. The radiation counter starts to sing. Slotin tilts the screwdriver. He lets the shell drop lower. He wants to see the needle jump. He is tickling the tail. He is in control until he isn't. It is 3:20 p.m. Alvin Graves leans in closer. Raymer Schreiber turns his back. The security guard shifts his weight. And Louis Slotin's hand trembles. It happens in less time than it takes to blink. The tool slips. Contact. Instantly, the core goes supercritical. It releases a burst of neutron radiation so intense it turns the air blue. This is Cherenkov radiation, particles screaming through the room faster than light can travel through air. Slotin feels a wave of heat wash over his hand. It feels like opening a blazing oven door. But there is no fire. It is the heat of his own atoms vibrating. In this split second, Louis Slotin has a choice. He can run. He can duck. But if he does, everyone in this room dies. The core will ramp up until it melts through the floor. He doesn't run. He lunges. He grabs the hot metal shell with his bare hand and flips it onto the floor. The reaction stops. The blue ghost is gone. Silence rushes back into the room. For a heartbeat, nobody moves. Nobody speaks. Then, the sensation hits them. A strange metallic taste in their mouths. Sour, electric. Slotin stands up. He looks at the screwdriver rolling on the table. He looks at his hand, which is already beginning to feel numb. He turns to the 7 men he just saved, and he delivers his own eulogy. Well, that does it. Immediately after the accident, Slotin doesn't scream. He doesn't cry. He goes back to work. He orders the other men to freeze. He grabs a piece of chalk. He draws a map of the room on the floor. He marks exactly where everyone was standing. He is calculating the inverse square law in his head. He needs to know who received a lethal dose. He turns to Alvin Graves, the man who was looking over his shoulder. Slotin says, "I'm sorry I got you into this." He knows Graves has a 50-50 chance, but for himself, the calculation is simple. He took over 2,100 rems of neutron radiation. He is a dead man walking. At the hospital, the horror unfolds in stages. At first, Slotin vomits, but then he feels fine. This is the cruelest phase of acute radiation poisoning. The walking ghost. The patient appears to recover, but inside his body, his DNA has been shredded. His bone marrow is dying. By day 5, the ghost phase ends. His white blood cell count drops to 0. His hand turns blue, then black. The skin begins to slough off. It is a 3D sunburn, a burn that doesn't just damage the surface, but cooks the flesh all the way to the bone. Even in agony, Slotin remains a scientist. He tells the doctors what symptoms to expect next. He offers his own body as the final experiment. He is documenting his own death. 9 days after the screwdriver slipped, Louis Slotin dies. The investigation that followed was swift and harsh. How did this happen? Was the equipment faulty? No. Was the core unstable? No. The verdict was human error. But it was more than that. It was a failure of culture. The investigation concluded that brilliant men had become too comfortable with godlike power. The era of the cowboy was over.
Power levels are
Los Alamos banned
fluctuating
all
beyond acceptable
hands-on
parameters.
criticality experiments.
Recalibrate.
From that day forward, only remote-controlled robot arms were allowed to touch the core. The screwdriver was retired, but the demon core was not done yet. As for the demon core itself, it never killed again. 5 weeks after Slotin's death, the core was melted down. The plutonium was purified and recast into a new sphere. It was placed inside a bomb codenamed Gilda. On July 1st, 1946, during Operation Crossroads, the core was dropped over the lagoon of Bikini Atoll. It finally achieved the purpose for which it was built. It went critical. It roared one last time, and then it was gone, scattered into the stratosphere. History remembers the demon core as a cursed object, a beast that hungered for blood. But that is just a story we tell ourselves to sleep better at night. The core wasn't a demon, it was a rock. It was a lump of metal, obeying the laws of the universe. The real demon wasn't the plutonium. The real demon was the arrogance of a brilliant man who thought he could negotiate with nature. Louis Slotin was one of the smartest physicists on Earth. He helped build the gadget that ended World War II. He was a hero. But physics does not care about your resume. It does not care about your bravery. And it certainly doesn't care about your IQ. Physics only cares about the rules. And on that Tuesday in May, the rule was simple. If you slip, you pay.